to promote human rights, to ensure that humanitarian law
Hello and welcome. I'm Kriti Mehta and you're watching the World Report on News X World. Let's start with a check of the top headlines this hour. The US military shot down an Iranian drone after it aggressively approached the USS Abraham Lincoln in the Arabian Sea. Washington says talks with Iran remain scheduled this week despite the incident. Former US President Bill Clinton and his wife Hillary Clinton agreed to testify in the congressional investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, allowing them to avoid being found in contempt of Congress. Former UK Cabinet Minister Peter Mandelson has quit the House of Lords after leaked emails tied him to Jeffrey Epstein, while British police have opened a criminal probe into alleged misconduct in public office. White House confirms India's $500 billion US investment plan. US Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt makes statement. US President Donald Trump signed a roughly $1.2 trillion funding bill ending a short federal shutdown after a 2017-14 House vote. Amid Rafah restrictions at Rafah, at least 10 Palestinians, including children, killed in Israeli attack across Gaza since early morning, as per reports. Looking to ban social media for under 16, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez says no more pretending that technology is neutral. In his first reaction after French authorities raid ex-offices in Paris, Elon Musk calls the raid a political attack amid deepfake and political interference probe. Alright, viewers, on to now the top focus. Prince Andrew, the younger brother of King Charles, has moved out of his long-time residence at the Royal Lodge in Windsor. Andrew has reportedly relocated to a temporary house at Sardingham Estate in Norfolk, while his Windsor home undergoes renovations. Andrew had lived in the 30-room lodge for over 20 years with his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson. His move comes amid growing scrutiny due to new revelations linking him to the Jeffrey Epstein files. Following the latest release of documents from the US Department of Justice, new claims have surfaced, one of which includes an allegation that a woman was sent to Andrew by Epstein for a sexual encounter at the Royal Lodge in 2010. But Prince Andrew has denied all wrongdoing in connection to Epstein. He also made an out-of-court settlement in 2022 with Virginia, who had accused him of sexual abuse. She reportedly passed away last year. Meanwhile, Sarah Ferguson, Andrew's ex-wife and the Duchess of York, has also been a controversial figure. One of the newly released emails released by the US Justice Department show that Sarah Ferguson had a close ongoing relationship with Epstein even after he was convicted of sex crimes. Additionally, there were communications between her and Epstein about financial assistance during a period of financial difficulty. More skeletons now tumbling out, viewers, as far as the Epstein files are concerned, and Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, whose name has surfaced with explicit images in the latest tranche of the Epstein files that have been released. He has moved out of his house in Windsor to the Sandringham Estate in Norfolk. The former prince left the Royal Lodge on Monday night. This is as his permanent home is undergoing renovations. Buckingham Palace had said the move would happen in early 2026, but the fallout from the latest drop of the Jeffrey Epstein files appears to have sped up his departure. Andrew was seen in several images in the Epstein files in compromising positions. He was also his royal duties, stripped of his royal duties. Andrew has always denied any wrongdoing. Meanwhile, the palace announced that he would be moving from Royal Lodge in October. At the same time, his title of prince was removed. The Andrew problem has come off as challenging for the royal family, and decisions around how to handle the former prince have also seemed to be slow and ineffective. His lease of the Royal Lodge had become symbolic of the wider problems his relationship with Epstein had caused. In fact, it raised concerns and questions about privilege, transparency, and the use of public money. Sources close to the royal family are also reporting that although Mountbatten Windsor's poor judgment needed sanction, he does remain a member of the family, and on a personal level, there is a duty of care owed to him, hence the provision of a home in Norfolk that's funded by the king. All right, I now request retired Major General Sudhakar Ji, Senior Strategic and International Affairs Expert, to join me in this conversation. Sudhakar Ji, thanks very much for joining. Now, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has been named. It's caused a great deal of embarrassment for the royal family, but he is a son of the royal household and he will be protected. How fair do you think a prosecution against him can really be?
Kriti, it's not going to be fair. He will be protected, and but this is where the world order has to actually chip in. So by protecting a member of the royal family, what message are they going to leave behind for the posterity? That is what matters. Whether the future world order will have some character, some morals, some ethics or not. Okay, so these are the issues. The history will not pardon him or the royal lineage. This is going to be a gross injustice to the rule of law by the very country which claims itself to be the originator of democracy and the rule of law, one of the countries. So I don't think it will be a fair deal if they try to protect him. Due justice must be meted out if somebody has been found wanting or found deficient in the morals and the ethics and the character of a human being. And that too, rather I would say they should come down heavily on him, so as to set up, kind of a precedented a benchmark, so that it is taken as a reference point for the future rather than protecting him. This is what I reflect to your point, and back to you, please.
Do you suspect that there are more powerful people whose names are being hidden as of now? We've also heard of the Princess of Norway and her son's involvement. But I'm talking about people outside of the United States. If some monarchs can be named, one can only guess how many people could actually be involved. Mandelson has just resigned from the UK political party. What's your estimate of how dirty and how big was this pool really?
Yeah, to me it appears to be what has come out in the public is the tip of the iceberg. There is an old saying, where there is smoke, there is fire, and could be, I can put it, extend it to say, wherever there is fire, there is smoke. Without either of them, one would not actually break out. So, I personally feel there are many more names which are yet to come out, and I think US would do good to the world order if they actually dispassionately, without any kind of parochial leanings or have partisan kind of leanings. If they take it out, it will do good, at least for once, from one corner of the world. An effort seemed to have been undertaken to cleanse the world. The world is thinking of this tariff and mindless conflicts going on here and there, and misbehavior by leadership of a superpower. One doesn't know what he's talking in the morning and what he talks in the evening. There is people say there is method in madness, but I don't see any method anywhere. So this Epstein file should not be put to rest. It should be ripped apart. It should be opened into the detail. The bottom of each of the case must go on, even if the investigation takes years. And all these big names that we are referring to, there are many more, many. There are some names which somebody mentioned to me. They're in the diplomatic circles. There are monarchs who are being mentioned. There are ministers. There are secretaries in the existing ecosystem of the governance of USA. Zelensky's name also has been referred to. He was indulging in human trafficking. He was trafficking the women and the girl children from his country to Epstein. So these kind of things must be gone into, and also we should not ignore the fact, Kriti, that in today's world, in the world of information warfare and ransomware, deepfake, and all, these things must also be kept in mind, and due diligence must be applied when you actually attack the character or the image of a person, because once it is gone, it is gone. It takes years together for the person to bounce back or revive his personality.
Talking
So,
about Andrew, General Sudhakar is also facing pressure from the US Congress to testify. Very explicit images of him have come out. I don't know if you've been able to see them. He was seen kneeling over on all fours on a woman who was lying down on the floor. Do you think he is going to testify?
well, this the time will tell us. But the issue is not whether he will testify or not. There should be adequate pressure built from a global apex organization, countries around, USA itself. Get him to the wherever the testification has to take place or testifying has to be done, whether it is the Congress or Senate or any place. He must be brought before in camera to testify and give his explanation, because if you set him free, then you please take it that Epstein is going to be burnt into ashes in no time. Because I'm sorry, don't want to take the name of the leadership. There is a flip-flop game going on. People are trying to hide the content of the Epstein. I think it is a huge repository of personalities of the world who have been taking this particular practice as a way of life. You tell me, is that to be accepted? You are a citizen of the world, so am I. I don't think it should be accepted. Our children, they have a future. I'm looking at a future of the world order which is cleansed of all these kinds of malpractices. Some vices must be put to a rest. It cannot be accepted, whether it is a monarch or son of a monarch or belongs to a royal family or otherwise. Regardless, the law, there is nobody bigger than the law or higher than the law. That is all I would say to sum it up. Back to you, Kriti.
Thank you very much, Sudhakarji, for joining us. We move on now. Viewers, Indian Commerce Minister has made a statement in the lower house of the Indian Parliament excuse me, on the new trade agreement with the United States. He said the deal follows extensive discussions between Prime Minister Modi and US President Trump, with both sides considering their national interests. The agreement aims to boost Indian exports, support MSMEs and small industries, and increase competitiveness across key sectors including food, agriculture and energy. Officials from both countries will finalize technical details before the full deal is announced, making it a significant step in bilateral relations. The minister emphasized that the deal will benefit India as a whole, strengthen ties with the world's largest economy, and support India's vision for a developed and self-reliant economy. Dr. Ajay Dua, former Secretary of Commerce and senior economist from Singapore, joins me in this discussion. Dr. Dua, thanks very much for joining us. Firstly, how do you see the details of this deal, and what challenges still remain?
Thank you very much for having me in this discussion. I think a lot of details are as yet to come. What we have right now is an in principle consent, concurrence of the two heads of government of the United States and the Indian governments. They have broadly agreed to have an arrangement under which the US will levy an 18% tariff on Indian goods imported into the US in exchange for India reducing to buy oil from Russia. How it's going to be structured is yet to be, the time frameworks have yet to be announced, though President Trump did say in his social truths put out, which was made on the very first day after their telephonic call, that it be with immediate effect. That means reduction from 25 plus 25% penalty to 18% was to have effect immediately. And at that point of time, President Trump had said India would be not buying any Russian oil, and instead American oil and Venezuelan oil would be bought. So there are, I would say, in principle sort of consent there. Lots of details have to be worked out, particularly because there is still no clarity about the $500 billion of goods which President Trump mentioned India would be buying. One, on the contents of it, because there President Trump had mentioned agriculture, but I don't think India is in a position to buy very large quantities of agricultural products of the US. Similarly, he had talked about coal, energy, those kind of goods from the US, and not spelt out the time framework for buying those $500 billion worth of goods. Because $500 billion for India, as you know, is a lot of imports. Our total imports are about $650 billion. If 500 have to come from the United States itself, it would cause a certain amount of dislocation. So the time framework, whether those $500 billion are over 3 years, over 5 years, those kind of things have to be spelled out. And then on top of it, President Trump had mentioned that these will be at zero rate of duties into India. So I don't think in a trade deal, these kind of things really work out. Both sides reduce their tariffs and bring them and agree on a time framework to actually get these down to almost zero. Whether it will be 3 years for India, 5 years for the US, because US is already lower, those kind of things all have to be worked out. So I think as of now, we have a good base to start with, but details have yet to be firmed up, and thereafter, once the details are known, the legal scrubbing, as they say, legally getting an agreement, that also takes time. So I would say 2 to 3 months' time, we are still away from signing a trade pact with the US.
Now, although we have a deal in place, Dr. Dua, would it be too soon to say that the threats of tariffs and the tariff ordeal has been done away with?
I think it might be premature to say that, because till such time we have inked something, those could be joint statements itself. As of now, there is a statement from the United States and there is a response from the Prime Minister of India. Prime Minister of India has welcomed it, thanked Mr. Trump, talked about his role in bringing about, sorry, about global prosperity, peace, etc. But that there are no details in it. So I would say, if, let's first, I think it will be in two steps. One would be probably a joint declaration by the two governments saying we have agreed to the following. That could be in 2 days' time, 3 days' time, or a little longer. Then filling up the details along the broad principles which have been stated in the joint statement, and then finally the signing of the agreement. Only when I think the details have been filled up, then I would say, even though we may not have signed it as yet, I would say that the threat or the an environment of India, knowing that where it stands vis-a-vis the trade with the US, be settled. Till then, the hope is that what President Trump said, that as soon as that he said immediately he'll be reducing the duty to 18%, that could be given effect. But let me just mention to you, this 18% is not the rate in which the trade agreement would be signed. That India would be paying 18% on everything and the United States paying nothing, what President Trump mentioned. It is just an arrangement from, we are going back to where we were before President Trump had imposed 25% duty in last July and thereafter made it 50% in last August. We are just going back to what the situation was in the month of July last year.
Right. Dr. Dua also talked to me about the timing that the deal has been struck with. Do you think this is a bid by Donald Trump ahead of his midterm election to distract from the Epstein files?
I don't know about that, and I wouldn't even venture to, hazard a guess whether he's doing it just to divert attention of the public and attention of the local electorate. I wouldn't be in a position to say anything firmly about that. But certainly, I think he has reacted and reacted with alacrity as soon as India and the EU decided to have an agreement about which on the 27th of January, the two leaders from EU and the Indian Prime Minister announced the details of what had been agreed to. That had President Trump, I think, catalyzed him into taking an early decision on something which was pending on his table for quite some time, because the sixth round of negotiation between the two teams, the Indian negotiators and the US, had been completed quite some time ago, over, if I recall, it's about 2.5 months ago. So that has got him going. Whether there's other local reasons or so about his timing, President Trump only he's the best person to be able to confirm or deny that.
Dr. Dua, thanks for your comments. They are requested to stay on. There's some more details, information coming in from the US, which has approved a potential $3 billion arms sale to Saudi Arabia, aiming at supporting the kingdom's F-15 fighter jet fleet. The US State Department says the deal covers maintenance support and related equipment for the aircraft. Defense Security Cooperation Agency confirmed the proposed foreign military sale now moves to Congress for certification and review. In a statement, US officials say the sale supports American foreign policy and national security goals. Washington says it will help strengthen the security of Saudi Arabia, which it calls a major non-NATO ally and a key force for stability and economic growth in the Gulf region. The State Department also stressed that the proposed sale will not change the military balance in the region. This approval comes just days after Washington cleared another major deal up to $9 billion for Patriot missile systems and related equipment for Saudi Arabia. Okay, request Dr. Dua to join us back in the discussion. Dr. Dua, second arms deal cleared in 1 week. How do you see this, especially at a time when when the US is trying to attack Iran?
I think the timing of it has, it's not I would say it's not coincidence. Yes, both the deals adding up to $12 billion are significant, but at the same time, I do not know against whom is the defense being built up by the US of Saudi Arabia. Is it against Iran or is it against Israel? Because Israel is the best equipped country militarily in that part of the world, and they also have such F-15s aircrafts, very lethal and state-of-the-art fifth generation aircrafts, which have been given to them by the United States. Or is it purely a opportunity for the US to sell some military equipment to Saudi Arabia, which, as we all know, has been trying to get a leadership role in the GCC area, in the Gulf area, and it does feel threatened at times by Iran, and at the same time, in terms of economic might, increasingly now by United Arab Emirates itself. So there is no kind of a military dispute between UAE or any of the countries of any of the 7 countries of GCC. So it is not really for defense against that. So I don't think Israel and Saudi Arabia also are in any kind of a conflict mode that where one needs to arm itself against the other. So I would presume that the only country which gets left against which it could be probably of use is Iran. But Iran and Saudi also, let's understand, have never really fought with one another in modern history. So it is America, the US, able to look for markets for its products, able to sell. Saudi Arabia has been a good customer for a lot of American equipment. Whether it needs it or not is anybody's guess. And now $12 billion more, but for Saudi Arabia, which is rolling in petrodollars, I think it is somebody who can afford it. They are selling the equipment to it without absolutely being clear for against whom it will be used, and at the same time, it is being sold to a non-NATO country. Let's remember.
Yeah.
So, or any non-NATO country, approval has to be absolutely clearly obtained from Congress before the military sale takes place. Exemption has to be given under the US laws itself. So let's hope that nobody in the US Congress raises such uncomfortable questions, but it is more seen as a commercial deal to a person who doesn't mind spending that kind of money.
Right, Dr. Dua, thanks very much then for joining us and for helping us with that perspective of yours. And we now move on, viewers, to cover some news from China, where the rights group Reporters Without Borders has condemned the detention of 2 Chinese journalists. Wu Jingjiao and Li Hu were reportedly arrested in Sichuan province after publishing a corruption story. The journalists had uncovered alleged corruption involving a local community party official. Their investigation was shared on WeChat, but the report was quickly removed by censors. Moreover, Liu Hu, a former investigative reporter, had also previously been detained in 2013 on charges related to spreading rumors. On the other hand, Wu Yinjiao is known for her own high-profile investigative work. Chinese police have stated that the journalists are under investigation for false accusations and illegal business operations. Reporters Without Borders group points out that the detentions are telling of China's restrictive environment for independent journalism. China has reportedly ranked 178th in the 2025 Press Freedom Index and is the biggest incarcerator of journalists globally. And we now move on, viewers. The South African State Department spokesperson has said that the United States has condemned South Africa's decision to expel Israel's top diplomat last week and called the African nation's step a part of prioritizing grievance politics. U.S. Tommy Pigott, U.S. State Department's deputy spokesperson, has said that expelling a diplomat for calling out African National Congress Party's ties to Hamas and other anti-Semitic radicals prioritizes grievance politics over the good of South Africa and its citizens. Meanwhile, Israel has responded by expelling South Africa's senior diplomatic representatives to its country. And viewers, that's all we have time for. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.